I'm Allison. I'm a reading specialist and the author of the blog Learning at the Primary Pond and the creator of a new series for K2 grammar called Grammar Alive. And tonight I am so excited to share with you about how, about how to get started with Grammar Alive, because I know a number of teachers have the materials and are ready to get going, but sometimes when you purchase something, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. Now, Grammar Alive, it is self-explanatory, and there's a video in the actual, resource that you can watch, but I want to make sure that you know exactly what to do. So that's what we are going to be talking about tonight. And I'm also going to share with you little details like how to set up your binders, what not to do, to make your binders really large like mine are. And in addition to that, we are going to be doing some Amazon gift card giveaways. So make sure that you are able to stick around as long as you can. I will try to keep this relatively short. It's not going to be like a whole huge webinar or anything like that. But we will be doing Amazon gift card giveaways throughout the little live presentation. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about the free gift that's currently included in Grammar Alive. This is, you can't really see it on the screen here, but this is a little workbook. And when I released Grammar Alive, wanted to give you a little gift to celebrate the release for the first time. And so that's something that's included in there through September 23rd. So we're going to start tonight just by talking really quick. And I know if you were on a webinar with me before, you've probably heard some of this, but I want to review just really quickly what is excellent grammar instruction and what does that have to do with Grammar Live. So before we get going, and feel free to let me know if you are watching and what grade you teach. So I know you're here for the giveaway. I'm just making sure that we are good. And the broadcast is going to the page. Thanks for bearing with me here. Yes, it looks like we are good. Super. All right, so, okay, let's get going. So something that I shared in the webinar that is so important to remember is that the main purpose of teaching grammar is so that our students can learn to write and speak in a way that can be easily understood, and also in a way that follows the conventions of standard English. So that's why we teach grammar. We're not teaching them grammar so that they know how to fill out worksheets really well. We are laying the foundation for them, especially in primary, so that they can be successful as they go through their school years, even as they're adults, because we all know that if you get an email that's written with very poor grammar, bad capitalization, bad punctuation, it doesn't matter what the content of the email is, you're going to have a reaction to that. And so that's what we're doing here. And of course, it's going to look very different. Grammar is going to look very different with what we do with our kids in kindergarten than it is even with like second grade, third grade, etc. And Grammar Alive really reflects that primary students have different needs. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. All right, let me click to the next little one here. Hopefully you can see that. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Danita. So glad you guys are here. Thanks for saying hi. We're going to do a Amazon gift card giveaway pretty soon here. All right, so as I said a minute ago, grammar instruction can absolutely be primary friendly. We can start teaching these skills as early as kindergarten, because if you think about it, and I know Tanya is a kindergarten teacher, so she knows, we start teaching our kids things like understanding preposition words like next to or under. That's grammar, right? We start teaching even in kindergarten how to put a period at the end of a sentence or how to capitalize a sentence. We start teaching these things in kindergarten, but at a very basic level, and we build from there. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, when I'm talking about grammar, I mean things like identifying what a word is, capitalizing the beginning of a sentence, identifying and using adjectives, using correct verb tenses, all that good stuff. There's so many different skills included, and those are just a few examples. So as I shared in the webinar, I struggled for a really long time with what grammar instruction should look like in my classroom. And as a result, I was kind of ignoring some skills or not teaching them in a way that really made them stick with my kids because I did not know what good grammar instruction should look like. And for a long time, I didn't really think it was appropriate for grades like kindergarten. We have Christina and Tanya, kindergarten teachers right here. I didn't understand that it could be appropriate or how it could be appropriate for the primary grades. And now those are the students I was working with. And so for a long time, I just kind of glossed over, really didn't give it enough attention. And one thing to keep in mind when we're thinking about what type of grammar instruction we should be giving our students is that traditional grammar instructional methods like sentence fixing, they don't actually work. If you're interested in the research, I have a sheet that I can share with you. You can comment and let me know, but I've done a lot of reading about this. And the problem with a lot of traditional grammar exercises is that kids get really good at like maybe finding the errors, fixing different things, but they're not able to transfer to their writing. And coming back to the very first thing I said tonight, the reason why we want our students to become good at grammar is so that they write well and so that they speak well. And so if we are using activities that are totally removed from writing, then they're not able to make that bridge. And some of the quotes that I shared during the webinar earlier this week actually indicated that not only do those types of exercises not work, but they can actually be detrimental to writing because if we spend time on those, then we're not spending time on good writing instruction. Hey, Lynn, so glad you're here. Hey, Jane. Okay, so then, and we talked about this again on the webinar, so if you watch the webinar, bear with me. We're gonna get into the materials really soon here. But what does work when we're teaching grammar, right? Like I shared that I was confused for an extremely long time about what grammar instruction should look like in primary or what it should look like in general. But these are some things that do work rather than sentence fixing, rather than sentence diagramming. We want to discuss examples of conventions used correctly in good writing. So the books that we're reading with students, we can point out how authors use adjectives or how they write incomplete sentences or use punctuation marks. We can show them how authors are really using these conventions, what I like to call in the wild. We can also discuss with our students how writing would be different. That should say W/O without a convention. So what if the author didn't use an exclamation point here? Or what if the author didn't use this adverb? How would that change what the writing is saying? So that's something we can talk about with our kids. We can talk about that with them in kindergarten. Like Lauren's a kindergarten teacher. Hey, Lauren, that's simple stuff. What if the author didn't put an exclamation point here? Like how would that change how we read it? Another thing we want to do is have our kids apply their learning to our writing. I mentioned that those sentence fixing activities and, like sentence diagramming, they don't help kids make the bridge between the editing little drill or whatever and their actual writing. And so we want to be teaching grammar in the context of writing. And at the primary level, this can be pretty simple. It's just like, hey, can you add an adjective to your nonfiction book to describe your animal? Or can you find a place where you need to use an exclamation point to write an exclamation to show emotion? It can be very basic, but these are the things that we want to be doing at every level, K-12. But Grammar Alive really shows you how to make that primary friendly. So now let's get into what I promised we would talk about tonight, which is Grammar Alive and how to get all set up with it. As I said, Grammar Alive is for K, first, and second. It's currently 25% off in my Teachers Pay Teachers store, and I included a little link in this post. This is the resource that's brand new. I've been so excited to share this with you. I've been looking forward to this for an extremely long time. But what Grammar Alive does is it allows you to follow best practices, but the planning is done for you. It's developmentally appropriate for K2, but you don't have to try to figure out how to do all this stuff we talked about and fit it into your schedule and, come up with activities that are fun for the kids. Like that planning is done for you because I know that you don't have time to, research what's good for grammar instruction and like build your own lessons from scratch all the time because grammar is just one part of our literacy block, right? Like there's so many other things we're teaching. So that work of making sure that it's developmentally appropriate and following best practices, that is done for you. So Grammar Alive uses a 3-part approach. The kids first explore the convention. Like I mentioned, I show them the convention in the wild. They do some practice games, whether it's, you know, like with my kindergartners, I like to, and I know this is small on the screen, but I like to take a little toy car and have this like road under like a mini paragraph, and they drive while they pretend read or read with me the sentences. And then when they see a period, a stop sign, they stop. And an activity like that really points out to them that, hey, you know, the periods aren't just at the end of the sentence. You might have a period like in the middle of a line, because raise your hand if you have kids who put a period at the end of every line, whether or not their sentence is finished. So that's just a way of visually showing them the periods aren't just all at the end of a line. Or maybe this is an ice cream cone shades of meaning adjectives activity where my first graders they had different cones and different scoops, and they were putting on the ones that matched and talking about, you know, the different, like, what's the difference between being mad and being furious. Or we have this cooking up contractions little activity for 2nd grade. I don't think it's showing you where my mouse is pointing, so I apologize for that. But basically, I'm just showing you some examples of little activities that are part of either the Explore or the practice phase in Grammar Alive. And then Grammar Alive has you help your kids apply what you're learning to their writing, because that's what this is all about, right? Again, coming back to that first little slide I had here, grammar instruction is for the purpose of getting our kids to write and also speak well. So Grammar Alive helps them make that connection between maybe practicing a skill in isolation and learning about it, and then their actual writing. With kinder or 1st grade, even 2nd grade with some skills, sometimes it's just speech. Doesn't always have to be writing, because a lot of our kinders cannot write yet, right? But however it looks at that level, you're getting your kids to apply it. So now let's look at how to get started with and use Grammar Alive. Because like I said at the beginning, I don't want this to be something that you purchase and don't use. It is very self-explanatory, but I would rather just make this as easy for you as possible. So when you open the zip file, whether you have kinder, 1st, or 2nd, you're gonna see a number of files. And the file that I would like you to look at first is Start Here, hence the name. And so I know that you can't really see the file set up here, but I will open the 1st grade Grammar Alive Start Here file. So this document is, of course, where your directions are, where your directions video is. And we'll come back to some of these FAQs to talk about them a little bit more tonight. But I want to point out that you have a weekly skill list in here, so you can see what you're teaching each week. If a skill goes a little over or a little under, I'll kind of like make notes about that. I just thought it was easiest to separate it out into weeks, because then you can rearrange. You don't have to follow this order. Now, the earlier lessons typically are a little bit easier, so just something to keep in mind, and the later lessons are a little bit more difficult, but you can rearrange. Maybe you have a program that you have to follow at school. You can absolutely rearrange all this stuff. So then in the Start Here file, you are going to find the materials for weeks 1 through 10. Now, the Kindergarten Grammar Live series has 30 weeks. The 1st and 2nd each have 35 weeks. And I did not put them all in one PDF because it slows down your computer. It makes it harder to print. But speaking of printing, if you are somebody that likes to have your stuff all printed out, I think I saw, let's see, I think I saw Lynn says she's already got hers printed out. Awesome, Lynn. I hope it was easy to print, because the way I set it up, it's all black and white. So I do have a separate color materials PDF if you like color materials, but if you just want to print and go, I wanted to make this easy for you. So you start with this page 7 or wherever the first week starts. Actually, I print out the weekly skills list too to have in the front of my binder, which I'll show you in a minute. And then you just literally print everything out. The Start Here file does have at the end, no, I guess it's the last file has like the credits in it. But other than that, and the cover is color too, but it's literally just black and white. So you start at the page that you want to print, and then you print it, and that's it. So speaking of printing too, there are 2 other files. Looking at the 1st grade example, I just broke it up. So it's weeks 11 through 20 in a different PDF, and then weeks 21 through 35 in another PDF. So you're gonna need to print those 3 PDFs. Again, all black and white, And then if you would like color materials, I have them separated out. I have the I Can posters in color, just some little color details and things to draw the kids' attention to. You know, all the games, all that stuff is in color if that's something you want to do. But I separated it out for you because I wanted it to be really easy to print. Thank you, Lauren. Lauren said my literacy instruction is completely Allisonized this year. Awesome, awesome. So that's how it's set up for printing. And speaking of printing, I want to talk to you about binders. In this little post here, I believe I stuck a link for free, what do you call them? Like the binder edges, the binder spines. Let me tell you about what binder sizes you would need. So for me, I work with multiple grade levels, and for that reason, I like to have like one kindergarten binder, one first grade binder, one second grade binder. However, let me show you what the second grade binder looks like, and the first grade is the same. This feels heavier, maybe not heavier, but I would say this feels about as heavy as like my 5-pound or 7-pound weights. So it's pretty heavy. It is a 3-inch binder. This is an example of the spine. I probably have it upside down for you. So that's the color one. I have black and white spines too. But what I did, because this is so heavy, is you may want to separate it into 3 different binders. This is a 3-inch binder. So for first and second grade, you would want either a 3-inch binder if you want to like print everything out like I did and have one, or you want to have like 3 1-inch binders. And the free binder spines that are in this post, you can like click see more or whatever if you don't see them. Those binder spines, I have one that's for like the whole program, or I broke it up like weeks 1 through 10, weeks 11 through 20. So that is an option for you. I like having it all printed out. I need to put binder tabs in here just by like week, or even just like little sticky notes, but it's nice to have a hard copy, especially because it's so easy to print out with the black and white all set up for you like that. However, that does remind me that I want to show you, and let me see if I can figure out how to pull this up. I'm going to put our little PDF away, and I want to, let's see, where is it? Okay. So some teachers like to print out all their lessons, and that is cool. Let me add this here. And some teachers like to be able to edit the lesson plans and kind of copy and paste from them. Maybe you have your own template that you use for your school and you want to copy and paste and stuff. Maybe you want to use my template that I'll show you in a second. The thing about Grammar Alive is that you don't have to teach one lesson every day. And so I laid it out as you have like stage 1 when you're having the kids explore the concept, stage 2 when they're practicing, and stage 3 when they're applying it. So the actual materials are kind of broken up that way. They're not broken up like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because again, you don't need to teach a lesson every day. And many of the activities can be integrated into what you're already doing. Often I will say, hey, you know, during your normal reading lessons, just stick this in, or during writing time, like spend 5-10 minutes and do this, have the kids work on this. And so this is really designed to save you time. It's not something where you have to set aside like 20 minutes every single day. You do not have to do that. There's plenty of optional activities, especially for first and second grade teachers. If you like to integrate, you know, grammar into like your daily 5 or your centers, there's plenty of independent stuff that the kids can do. But again, this is fitting into what you've already going on. It's not saying, oh, you need to spend like 30 minutes a day on grammar. That's not what this is about. This is a complement to what you've already got going on. Lynn, I am so glad to hear that this was easy to print. Awesome. Okay, so the file that I opened up now, and I kind of got off on a tangent. Sorry, the file that I opened up now is the editable and copyable lesson plans. And kindergarten, first and second grade, they each have their own file like this with just the lesson plans. The reason why you can't copy and paste from the regular PDFs is because I purchase clip art and graphics and photos to use with the materials for you all, but there are copyright agreements that say that I have to lock down these files, because otherwise I'm accidentally sharing all these materials with, you know, lots and lots of teachers. And so that's why those are quote unquote locked down. So that's why I have this editable and copyable lesson plans thing. And so maybe what you want to do Maybe, you know, because it's not laid out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe you want to have your binder and just literally like put sticky notes. Like, okay, I love these. Where did I put them? I have these like mini sticky notes I ordered from Amazon and they're small. Maybe you just want to write like Monday and stick it next to one activity in Grammar Live, and Tuesday and stick it next to one activity. Now that's really easy. It's in the binder, it's done, you use your stickies and you're good. But if you want to get a little more involved, I did include this, let's see if you can see that, this like little lesson template in the PowerPoint file. And so if you want to go into the lessons and you want to take like, okay, like we're going to do the example sentences on Monday, you can copy that and then you can paste that here. You're going to have to mess with, whoops, that's really long. You're going to have to, that particular one doesn't fit very well, but you're going to have to kind of mess with, oops, did I go away on the screen? Hold on. Okay, can you guys let me know if I see like a big black thing? I don't know if my picture went away or it's just like my version. I use this other software to stream to Facebook Live. Maybe you guys can let me know if anything went wrong or it's just looking weird on my end. Anyway, what I was trying to show you, and I think you can hopefully still see this here, is that you can copy and paste into my template. You can copy and paste into your own version of the lesson plans, whatever works for you. But you can edit this, you can really make it your own here. So that is one option for you. I am going to go ahead and still see you. Okay, good, Denise. I'm not sure why it's not showing on my end, but gotta love technology. Thank you for letting me know, Denise. I appreciate that. Jane says, all good, awesome. Okay, we're gonna move that down. We're gonna move this back. Okay, so that is, oh, by the way, too, I should have mentioned this when I had the PowerPoint file up, but that PowerPoint file, you know, you can take that one slide with the template and you can copy that slide. You can even put it in a different PowerPoint file if you want to copy multiple. There's a way to duplicate that slide so that you can do weeks and weeks of plans in one file. You can copy that to another file, duplicate the file, whatever you need to do. All right, but getting back to the actual files. I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to point it out again to make sure it's clear. This is not set up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have many times I'll have like one or two activities for each like part. Remember, part A is explore, part B is practice, part C is apply. And these are the things that I really recommend doing when you're working on that skill. I also have these optional activities. Don't feel stressed out if you don't get to them all. I don't necessarily expect you to get to them all. I wanted you to have things to choose from. Speaking of having things to choose from, let us do an Amazon gift card giveaway. Okay, what do I want to ask? I guess I will just ask if you had a grammar program that you were already using. Just let me know yes or no in the comments. And then once a couple of people have had a chance to answer, I will let you know who our winner is. But in the meantime, I am gonna keep on rolling with this. So anyway, what I was saying is you're not gonna have like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday setup. You can use the sticky notes and put them on your binder to show like when you wanna teach each activity. But don't expect to get through everything in the optional activities because I intentionally gave you more than I would do myself so that you have things to pick and choose from. Another thing I want to point out is just about every week we'll have an I can poster. This is nice for displaying the standards. It's also nice for just keeping yourself and your kids on track for what you're supposed to be focusing on that week. All right, so I'm not gonna scroll through everything. There's tons of like different hands-on activities and example sentences and of course the lessons that are in there for you. I wanna talk really quickly just about, let's see, was there anything else I wanted to share about binders? I did recommend binders. Again, kindergarten, you can do a 1.5 inch binder. Kindergarten does fit okay in 1.5 inches. Getting some answers about the grammar, awesome. Kindergarten does fit in, I don't even know if you can see this because I can't see where I am on the screen, but kindergarten does fit in a 1.5 inch binder. And again, I have the binder spine for you in the post there. And And then first and second grade would be either the 3-inch binder if you want something completely massive, or I would break it up into 1-inch binders. All right, I am going to pull my winner. My winner is going to be Tanya. All right, Tanya, I landed on you when I did my little scroll. So Tanya, please email me. It's Allison, ALISON, at learningattheprimarypond.com. And I will send you your little gift card. I realized on the agenda it still said, what should grammar instruction look like in K2? So we should change it. Okay, so I see kind of a mix. I see no, yes, sometimes you don't like what you have. I see kind of a mix of different things. It's always so interesting to me because I have taught in different schools, but every school is kind of like its own bubble in some ways, right? And it's so interesting to see how different it is across the US, between the US and Canada, even Australia. That is just so fascinating to me. Amy Kane says, would that be in sheet protectors? Amy, I did not put sheet protectors in here just for like, I was just gonna pull it out, copy and paste it. That would be a lot of sheet protectors, but maybe if you wanted to do like color materials or something in the sheet protectors, that could work. All right, or maybe Amy, were you talking to somebody else? Kind of lost track of that conversation. Anyway, okay, trying to focus here. I'm gonna address some FAQs about Grammar Live, and then I'm also gonna tell you about the bonus because, like I said at the beginning here, I decided when I released Grammar Alive to not only give you a 25% discount, and that is happening through September 23rd, which is Monday, the end of the day. That's when that discount goes away, but I also wanted to give you a free gift. So I will show you about that free gift in 1 second, but I wanna address some FAQs. So one thing that I've gotten asked is, when should I begin this program? And for a lot of US teachers, we have been going for some weeks, maybe even a couple of months for some of us. I feel like now is a great time to get into it. Next year, thinking about next year, I would recommend starting it maybe the 3rd week of school, but it honestly is so flexible that you can really start it whenever. And if you are happening to start it in a place where you've already taught some skills already, then I would just look at this list. And if there's anything that you feel like, we've really addressed that, we don't need to go over it again, then just strike that off the list, right? Skip those weeks, do what you need. Again, this is flexible. It's not like you can't teach week 14 if you haven't taught week 13. Sometimes week 14 will assume that if we're talking about nouns, that you've taught nouns before, but that's very self-explanatory. I also in the materials noted the weeks that you could omit if you find yourself pressed for time, because sometimes it's so hard to know. We're all trying to fit so much into our literacy blocks. Sometimes it's hard to know what we can leave out. And so I listed the different weeks that you might want to leave out if you have to leave something out. Again, you can use the materials out of order. You can slow it down if you find that it's too difficult for your students, but I usually kind of try to include a mix of activities. Like for example, with 1st grade, when we're talking about capitalizing sentences, I also have a little activity that helps kids just practice identifying what a capital letter looks like. So identifying different capital letters among lowercase letters too. If you happen to use my writing program or my reading program, I did, when relevant, and this is mostly with 1st and 2nd, if I felt like you can use a book that you would have used for reading workshop to talk about, this grammar skill, I included that in there. So these will complement each other. They don't overlap, but they complement each other. You can use them with any reading or writing program that you use. Let's see. Oh, I want to talk about assessment. Oh, Amy was just kidding about the page protectors. Yeah, I would not do page protectors for this. But if anybody does do page protectors, please send me a photo. Let's talk about assessment. Okay, so we talked about what doesn't work with, grammar instruction, the sentence fixing, the sentence diagramming, and that sometimes can make it seem hard to assess what our kids are learning. And so I kind of take a multifaceted approach to assessment. And that's what I want to show you here. Colleen, you absolutely could use this in a daily 5 routine for sure. These little activities could become like one of your mini lessons for your rotations. And then there's optional activities that could become independent work for your daily 5. It absolutely can work in there. All right, so assessment. When I'm thinking about monitoring how my kids are doing with these skills that we're learning, the first thing I ask myself is, how can I assess them without making extra work for myself? Not because I'm lazy. I mean, I will be the first to admit, like, I don't like grading. I love being a reading specialist because I have less grading. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I want to use what we're already doing because that's good for me, that's good for the kids, it's just good for everybody. And so in Grammar Alive, often in Part B, and this is mostly true of 1st and 2nd grade kindergarten teachers, you know, yours is a little different. They're not writing a ton yet. The 1st and 2nd grade teachers, you're gonna have times when the kids are, like, you're asking them to write a sentence using an adjective or using a contraction or whatever your skill is. And so you can see how the kids are doing based upon their writing in Part B because they have a little task. And you can keep track of that using these handy little rubrics I have for you. I broke them up into 5-week chunks, not because it's like a 5-week unit or anything like that, but only because I thought it, you know, like Grammar Alive, it's not, you're not teaching a zillion things every week. So I wanted you to not have like a whole page for every week. That can get, I don't know, just unwieldy, a waste of paper. And so I grouped them into weeks of 5. And so, for example, this is just very basic starting at the beginning. If you see your kids speaking in complete sentences or hear them throughout the day, then you can just like rate them on how they're doing with that. Or if in their sentence you see that they wrote a sentence and they capitalized people's names in the Part B sentences that they're writing, then you can mark it off there. And even better, you can notice how they're applying these skills to their writing. Because again, that's the whole purpose of teaching grammar, right? So that they capitalize sentences, so that they use correct punctuation mark in their writing. Not on the worksheets. Cool if they can do it on a worksheet, but they have to be able to do it in their writing. Now, I also don't expect that when we get through a week of Grammar Alive, we explore the concept, we practice, we have a lot of fun with it, and then I ask them to apply it to their writing. I don't expect them at that point that they will have fully mastered it. That Part 3 of application actually extends far beyond what I suggest in the actual plans. I give you activities to do, but if you have a child, for example, you know, using a period at the end of a sentence, it's not probably going to take just 1 week for you to teach that, right? So that stage 3 happens, but then you continue revisiting it and talking about it. That week of Grammar Live allows you to really focus on it and introduce it, but then you're constantly following up with them. Because I don't know about you, but my kids need a little bit more than just a few days or one reminder to consistently use capitalization and punctuation correctly. So anyway, all of that is to say that the best indicator is if they're using it in their writing, but I don't expect it immediately. You can use the sentences that they may be writing or little activities as part of Grammar Alive, and you can monitor that here. Now, rubrics are great, but sometimes you really want to have like a more formal assessment. And so the 1st grade and 2nd grade, not kindergarten, but 1st and 2nd grade, the 1st and 2nd grade Grammar Alive, they do come with assessments that are more paper and pencil. And I recommend that you read these assessments aloud to the kids because this is not a reading test, this is a grammar test. And you want to really get at, do they understand what the skills are? Because if you ask them to read it on their own, that just opens us up to a lot of issues. And it's not that I read every test or assessment to my kids. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that for our purposes here, we want to assess how they're doing with grammar skills. And so I recommend reading the tests out loud. I've included 3 in the 1st grade and the 2nd grade version. And I told you where I recommend giving them. You can also break these up and they're basically sequential and follow the sequence of the skills that you're doing in Grammar Alive. So if you want to break one up, that's not a big deal either. You can break it in 2 if that's what you want to do. So those are included for you as well. Kindergarten, I just have the rubrics for you because I feel like that's, you know, really what's appropriate. But you can also take, you know, with the kindergarten skills, like if it's like prepositions, like maybe if you want to give them a little task when you're testing them one-on-one, you could easily incorporate that too. But I did not include paper and pencil tests for kindergarten because I didn't really feel like that was the most appropriate thing. Okay, feel free to let me know if you do have questions about anything that we've talked about so far. I feel like I've covered what I want to cover about Grammar Alive, but I do want to talk about the workbooks, and we also have one more Amazon gift card giveaway to do. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in. I'm just like mentally trying to go over everything. We talked about how easy it was to print. Print those 3 PDFs in black and white, print the color if you want, and you're done. Binders, first grade, second grade, either a 3-inch or 3 1-inches, and then kinder fits in a 1.5-inch binder, and the spines are in the post. So let's now talk about, and I can actually get rid of this screen share now, I think. It's still showing me a blank screen, but I think you guys can see me, so we should be good. Let's talk about the free gift. Let me change the little agenda thing so it shows the free gift. Okay, so this actually kind of goes along with assessment too, because this can be another way that you can assess your kids. As I said, with releasing Grammar Alive, wanted to give you a little present for buying before September 23rd, or by the end of the day on September 23rd, and this is actually a resource that is going to become, hopefully you can see it, this is the kindergarten version, I think. This is going to become a product in itself, and it's going to be separate from Grammar Alive, but it goes with Grammar Alive. So for example, page 1 is going to go with week 1 of Grammar Alive, and page 2 is going to go with week 2, and so on and so forth. Now there is a kindergarten version, and like the kindergarten version is very simple. It's like, you know, when we talk about what is a letter, like find some examples of letters. And then of course it gets, you know, more complex as we go up. But the reason I decided to create this, couple of reasons. One is that it's nice for your kids to have something ongoing that reflects what they've been learning, because there's like a lot of little skills in grammar, as is true of anything we teach. And it's nice for them to be able to go back and be like, hey, you know, we talked about using conjunctions or whatever, right? And with this little workbook, they can do that. Now, a couple of things about printing the workbook. This is also super easy. It's labeled as free gift. When you download your Grammar Alive zip file, it's already in there. You don't need to do anything special to get it. It's labeled as free gift, and it'll be removed after September 23rd. But you'll still have it as long as you downloaded it. But for this example to show you, I printed it and I stapled it. But with my kids, I don't print all the weeks for the whole year. I do hold on to these. I don't let them keep them in their desks or anything like that, or their tables. But I break it up into weeks 1 through 10, weeks 11 through 20, and then weeks 21 through 30 or 21 through 35, depending on what grade level you have. And so the reason for that is because it can get kind of beat up with so much use if you're using it every week. And so I included covers for you that break up, and you can just print them out, that break it up into the different chunks of weeks that I suggest. So that's just a practical thing. It has nothing to do with the content. It's just a practical thing because, you know, no matter how nicely we encourage them to treat them, the little booklets just get beat up a little bit. So little tip about printing there. And I think I got sidetracked. But the second thing that I was trying to say that this little booklet will help you do is it gives your kids a place to put maybe the sentences that they're writing, especially in part B for 1st and 2nd grade when they're trying out, you know, using commas in a list sentence, or when they're trying out adding adverbs. This gives them a place to write that sentence. Now, sometimes it's nice to give them paper and they illustrate it and maybe you post it in the classroom, but often you just kind of need somewhere for them to stick it. And if you have them put it here, you can assess it, they can go back to it. It's just a nice record of learning. So this is not necessarily a bunch of worksheets. It's more a place for kids to record their learning. And in their writing, you know, if you notice that they're not applying something, you can give them their book and be like, hey, like, go back to this page. Do you remember when we talked about this? Like, again, getting them to make those connections to writing is so important. And this record of their learning can help you do that. Now, this doesn't have to necessarily be used with Grammar Alive. You can use Grammar Alive completely separately and not use this at all. It's totally up to you. But again, if you purchase by September 23rd, not only do you get that 25% discount, but you get this for free. So that's why I recommend doing it, because after that time, this is going to become a separate paid product. So that's why I recommend getting it before the 23rd. All right, Laura says, forgot about your webinar. Will it be available to watch again from the beginning? So Laura, and for anybody else who doesn't know about the webinar, I did a grammar webinar earlier this week. I sent out the recording to everyone who was signed up, and that recording should work through the end of this weekend. So Laura, just make sure to watch it before the end of this weekend, and you should be good to go. And if you did not get the recording, just email me. It's Allison, ALISON, at learningattheprimarypond.com, and I will send you that recording that, again, you can watch just before the end of the weekend. Hey, Natasha. I hope you had a really wonderful Meet the Teacher night, and this will be posted so you can watch later. All right, so we have talked about grammar instruction that works. We've talked about Grammar Alive and how to get set up, and we've talked about your free gift. So now let's do our last Amazon gift card giveaway. And so what I would love to know, since we're doing a grammar theme, is about, let's just do an average, about how many minutes a day do you spend on grammar? And if you don't do a lesson every day like I don't, maybe just average it out. So let me know in the comments how many minutes, and then I will choose a winner. Let me see if there's any, I'm not sure that there's anything else that I meant to address, but you are welcome to ask questions. You're welcome to email me. Once you get into the materials, let me know if you have any questions, excuse me, about them, but there is a video with instructions included in Grammar Alive as well. We will wait to make sure everybody has a chance, hopefully, to comment to win the gift card. Melissa says 15 minutes. Awesome. Roseanne says kind of mixed in with other lessons. Yeah, me too, for many things. And with Grammar Alive, you'll see that you can really easily mix things in. 10, 15, 20 minutes, Danita. Okay, so we're like mostly on the same page about how much. Well, Grammar Alive will work perfectly with all those amounts. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna do my scroll, and then I'll pick my Amazon gift card winner, and my scroll is landing on Colleen. All right, Colleen Michelle, please email me, Allison at learningattheprimarypond.com. Just put that you won the Amazon gift card giveaway, and I will send that to you. And it's getting late here, and we still haven't eaten dinner, so that will probably not be till tomorrow. Congratulations to both of my winners. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Just don't forget that the bonus, this little bonus thing, is removed after September 23rd, and so is the discount. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it'll help you get started, but feel free to ask away if you do think of other questions in the future. Have a wonderful rest of your day.